the first two questions, you should expect something like this as well. The standard of the paper that you write is really like this. So first question, quadratic equation. Now, the first question on quadratic equations, generally, you are required either to factorize it, or it will be factorized for you already. Then you just have to determine the x values. Right? That's the first question. Now, for this one now, it's not factorized. So you have to factorize it. But if it happens that maybe you struggle to factorize, then you may have to use the quadratic formula. That's the advantage of being in grade 11, because in the lower grade, like grade 9, grade 10, you were not taught other techniques of solving quadratic equations. But now you have more than one. So I'm going to show you both ways regarding the first question. So 1.1.1. Now, these type of questions, they should not take you long. They are easy questions that you can easily score marks from. So you've got 5x squared minus 33x minus 14 equals 0. Right, I'm going to factorize this. Now, I'm not here to teach you how to factorize. You can use any method that you know. Right? In my case, the method that I use to factorize, I identify my coefficient of x squared, which is 5, and the constant term, which is minus 14. So if I multiply those two, 5 times minus 14, that will give me minus 70. Then you need to identify two factors of minus 70, such that if you add them, they will give you this coefficient, which is minus 33. Now those two factors of minus 70 are going to be negative 35 and positive 2. Right? Please be aware that there are many ways of factorizing. You can use the techniques you were taught. Okay? So I have to rewrite this equation by splitting the individual term based on the factors of minus 70. So this will be minus 35x plus 2x minus 14 equals 0. And then you factorize it by grouping. Okay? So this will be 5x times x minus 7. If you create a binomial factor, so the first one here must be the second one that you also created. It will be plus 2 times x minus 7 equals 0. Then your two factors are going to be x minus 7 times 5x plus 2 equals 0. When you solve this, you get x equal to 7 or x equal to negative 2 over 1. So if you did the question, you can mark your work. It's 2 marks. So it's most likely that the mark allocation can be given for the factors, then both x values. That's one scenario. The second scenario will be no mark for the factors, then 1 mark each for the x values. But that's also a possibility. But always make sure that you show your factors in the case that there is a mark allocated for the factors, because it's 2 marks. Okay, so there are 2 possibilities there in terms of mark allocation. Right, so this is the first question. Now, the same question can be done using the quadratic form. Okay, because some learners might find it a bit of a challenge to factorize that trinomial. So the second method will be to use the quadratic form. And I encourage you to also do that as well. If you see that the question are getting stuck to factorize, then quickly turn to the quadratic formula. You will still get your full marks. Okay? Because the question does not specify what method you're supposed to use. So any method that you were taught, including completing the square, but I don't encourage completing the square because it causes a lot of issues. So the same question, I'm going to do it using the quadratic formula. Right? So with the quadratic formula, x is equal to minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Right? So your b is negative 33. So this becomes minus 33 plus or minus the square root of minus 33 squared. Okay, allow me to just write on the bottom. I don't have enough space. So 4 times 5 times the c, which is minus 14. This is all over 2 times 5. Right. Can someone just help me then? What is 33 squared?
1099.
1089. Then can you multiply 4 times 5 times 40? 280. Now if you get the 2, what do you get? The final square.
37.
37. So we end up with 33 plus or minus 37 over 10. Now if you take the positive, right? 33 plus 37, that will give you 70 divided by 10. You end up getting 7. Right? So x is going to be 7, or if you say 33 minus 37, you get negative 4. Negative 4 over 10, that will give you minus 2 over 5. So you still get the same result. Okay, please just bear with me one of the space. The main method is factorization, but you could also use the quadratic formula. Yes. Well, so it's your choice here. Any of the two methods are encouraged, yes?
So I also did quadratic division, but before I did it, I divided the whole equation by 5, so I have the coefficient of 1 times x to the power of 2. So when there's negative 33, I put negative 33 over 5. Basically, those things I got here, I still got the same answer. They still got it right.
Yeah, it's fine. But I don't encourage you to, if you're going to use the quadratic formula, there is no need for you to divide each term by 5. Because you'll be complicating the question for yourself. Just substitute your value of A, B, and C into the quadratic formula as given in the original way. Okay. Alright. Are you all clear with this? Analysis? You're okay. Yeah. So factorization, quadratic formula. You cannot say, oh, I got stuck with this interpretation like that. Because we have got more than one way of doing it.
So,
right? Yeah. Okay.
Will we get a formula sheet this year or not?
No. I'm not going to allow you to have the formula sheet because that's going to make you very lazy. So don't expect any formula sheet. Your formula must be in the head. But 1.1.2, now this type of a question now, it's very common, it's even in metric as well. Because you guys are almost in metric now, the grade 12 are done. They finished writing their 2 minute status, right? So x squared plus 7x plus 4 equal to 0, then use your instruction, answer correct to decimal places. Now, this question here, you can't factorize. When you see a question like that, which is specifying that you must leave your answers to a specific number of decimal places, which is in most cases 2 decimal places, means you're supposed to use the quadratic formula. Okay, always. You see a question like that, you're supposed to use the quadratic formula. So just allow me to go to the next page and duplicate this page. So I'm gonna just do it using the quadratic formula. So 1.1.2, the equation is x squared plus 7x plus 4 equal to 0. So we are going to use the quadratic formula here. A is equal to 1, B is 7, C is equal to 4. Now always write down your quadratic formula because sometimes it can be allocated a mark. So this will be x equal to minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, so that's the quadratic formula. Right? Then I know my values of A, B, and C, so I'm going to substitute. You get a mark for substitution, by the way. So it would minus 7 plus or minus the square root of B squared, that's 7 squared, minus 4 times A, which is 1, times C, which is 4. So this is all over 2 times 1. Now if you simplify this, you get x equal to minus 7 plus or minus. Now 7 squared is 49, 4 times 4 is 16, so you get 49 minus 16, which will give you 33. So that is the square root of 33 over 2. Can someone also simplify that for us?
R of x is equal to negative 0.63.
Negative 0.63.
4x is equal to negative 6.37.
Or x equals to negative 6.37. Right? So that's step 4.
Sir,
Yes.
I wanted to ask, because I see that you do this all the time, you see that equation, the one in red, the first one?
This one,
Yes.
This is the substitution.
Yes, yes. Do you have to simplify it into the negative 7 plus or minus 33 over 2? Or can you just directly write x is equal to?
Okay, it's a good question. Please, you must bear with me. Remember, I'm teaching you without a calculator. Okay? So, if I had a calculator, then I would simplify from here and straight away come to that step where the answers are. Because this step here, it doesn't have any mark. Right? So, if we were to allocate a mark, right, it's 3 marks. The first mark will be for the correct formula, that is the quadratic formula and the substitution. So you get a mark there. That's where the first mark will be. The second mark will be for the first x value, and the second mark will be for the second x value. So it ends up having 3 marks. This step here, it helps me because I'm not doing the question using a calculator. Okay? But also, even if I was not a calculator, I would like to write it down. In my case, my rule for maths is show all your working out to avoid unnecessary what? Mistakes. And also to make sure that you can get all your full marks. Alright, so are we clear with this? Yeah? Right, let's move on to the next question. Now, the next question is the third equation. Okay? You are going to get a question of this nature, okay, whereby you are required to solve a third equation. Now, a third equation is an equation that has got x inside the square root. That's a third equation, right? So the first question here, it says, without solving the equation, show that the solution above lies between that. Now, this question here, it's a little bit tricky, right? When you see this first question here, how to approach it, because they are saying, show that the value of x is going to be between 2 and 8, but you must not solve the equation as it is. Okay? So how you go about doing that is, you need to be aware that if you are to solve for x here, the number inside the square root must be greater than or equal to 0. Okay? If you are to solve for x. Remember, if the number inside the square root, that 8 minus x, is less than 0, then you get roots that are non-real. So for you to get real roots here, both the 8 minus x and the x minus 2 must be greater than or equal to 0. So I'm not solving the equation as normal, but I'm using the fact that the number inside the square root, that 8 minus x and the x minus 2, both of them they must be greater than or equal to 0. If they are less than 0, you get non-real roots. In this case, you need real roots. So you just equate that 8 minus x to greater than or equal to 0. Right? Then the right hand side, you equate that x minus 2 to greater than or equal to 0. Then you solve. Now, here I'm not solving the equation as normal, okay, which is what I'm going to do in 1.22. Right? Then if you solve this, you get 8 is greater than or equal to x. Right? I hope you know that if 8 is greater than or equal to x, right, it means that x is less than or equal to 8. Okay? It's the same thing. Right? Also, here, you just say x is greater than or equal to 2. What this means, I can say, therefore, since x is greater than or equal to 8, and x is greater than or equal to 2, it means that I say, therefore, x lies between 2 and 8. Okay? So this is more like a level 3 question. It's not level 1 or 2 because it requires you to be aware that in order for you to provide a solution there without solving the same equation, you need to be aware that 8 minus x must be greater than or equal to 0. And also the x minus 2 has to be greater than or equal to 0. Right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Could you do it in a different way?
where you substitute numbers that is less than 2 and a number that is bigger than 8 into the equation and then prove that the x value can't be less than 2 or bigger than 8.
Probably yes, but that method would be a bit of a challenge because they wanted you to find a solution or a way or a method that will help you to come up to a conclusion that the value of x will be between 2 and 8. If that would work, maybe it can be uncertain. But this will be the best solution. But I'm not going to say it's the only solution. Right? As long as you don't solve that same equation as normal, because that's what 1.2 is going to ask. So I might need problem to see how you work it out in your argument. You understand? If your argument is mathematical sound, then your answer can be considered. I remember in 2018 when I went for metric marking, I was marking a question on financial maths. There was a learner, after marking so many scripts, there was one learner who provided a solution which was not in the memo, national memo, right? But his argument was mathematically sound. So we decided to give him or her full marks. So you might see something that the examiner didn't see, the moderator of the paper didn't see. In this case, the teachers didn't see. It happens sometimes. I'm telling you, because you are almost like 138 of you in this school who are doing very well with that. So if you come up with a solution that probably we don't have in our memo, then it's mathematical sound, then you have to consider it. Okay. Alright, so let's move on to the next question. Let's solve the equation. Now, that's 5 marks. Right? You have to solve it as normal, as how you were taught by your respective teachers. So this will be square root of 8 minus x is equal to x minus 2. When you see a said equation like this, the first thing that must come into your mind is to eliminate the square root sign on the left-hand side. And the only way that you can eliminate it is by squaring both sides. If you get 1 mark for squaring both sides, don't never forget that. So my next step is to write square root of 8 minus x squared. Now when you square the right hand side, it's a binomial, it's one number. Okay? So you treat the x minus 2 as one number, then you square it as 1. So you have to put the x minus 2 in brackets. Please don't be tempted to write it as x squared minus 2 squared. This is wrong. Is that clear? Don't do it this way, please. Don't do it this way. This is wrong. X minus 2 itself is one number. It's only that we don't know what the value of x is. If we know the value of x, then we'll subtract 2 from that number and get one digit or one number. Therefore, the x minus 2, you treat it as one number, you put it in bracket, then you square. Right? So on the left, you get 8 minus x. On the right, you get x minus 2. Okay, I can do this in my head, but I don't want to do it because I need to make sure that everybody in the room understands where I'm going to get the trinomial. So this will be 8 minus x is equal to x squared minus 2x minus 2x plus 4. So this will give me 8 minus x equal to x squared minus 4x plus 4.
But it's okay to work on.
Yeah, it's okay if you can move from this step straight away to that step. Right, it's fine. If you want to do it that way. Okay? Then the next thing here is to create a quadratic equation of the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So you take the 8 minus x to the right, you get 0. This becomes x squared. If I take that minus x to the right, you get minus 3x. Take the 8 to the right, you get negative 4. So I now have a quadratic equation. So we call this the standard form. So the first mark is here. The second mark is for the standard form of the quadratic equation. Right? That's the second mark. the third mark is for factorization, okay, which is what I'm going to do now. So now I want you to be aware that even though I'm going to do it by factorization, you can still use the quadratic formula. Be aware. Okay, if you get stuck here in terms of factorizing, use the quadratic formula. You still get to the same value of x. So if I factorize this, I'll get x minus 4 times x plus 1. Right? So I now have then, so we have got a mark for vectors. Right? This is now a mark for the vectors. So 3 so far. Then the x values. So here I can say therefore x is going to be positive 4 or x is going to be negative 1. I'm not done when I get there. Because this is the same equation, I need to check or to prove that either both of them are valid or one of them might be invalid or both are invalid. But in most cases, it's one of them will be invalid. So I need to do some kind of checking. Okay? Let me check and see which one is the correct one. So if I start with x equal to 4, if I put 4 there, right here, 8 minus 4 gives me 4 square root of 4 will give me, so I'll get here when x is 4, you will get square root of 4 is equal to 2 minus 2, so you get 2, so you get 2 equal to 2. So it means this is going to be a solution. Then when x is equal to minus 1, if I put minus 1 here, I'll get 8 minus minus 1, which gives me square root of 9, which is going to be 3. So I'll get square root of 9 here, and on the right hand side, I'll get minus 1 minus 2, I'll get minus 3. The square root of 9 is a 3. So this is not possible. Therefore, I have to reject that. When I reject, I need to have a conclusion. My conclusion will be, allow me to write it here. Therefore, x is going to be equal to 4. Now, the mark allocation, be aware, it's most likely to be for both x values together with the rejection of x equal to minus 1. Right? Then the final answer is to be for the actual solution for the question, which will be x equal to what? To 4. Okay? Please be aware that a question like this, we have lots of marks. In most cases, minimum 5. Okay? If it's a little bit more complex, then you end up getting maybe 6 marks. But generally, it's 5 marks. Are we together there? Yes. Okay, it's a 9. Yeah. Just that initially I wrote it, I put a 3 there by mistake, so it's a 9. I follow that. Like then the last question says, hence or otherwise solve for x if minus square root of 8 minus x is equal to x minus 2. Right now, it's very important for you to know the language for mathematics. Okay? The language. What do you know about that word hence? Yes. In this case, it means use your previous solution, or rather from the previous question, use whatever information you got there to answer this question. If you can't, then figure out a different way. The way otherwise means, if you can't use that solution from 1.22, then find another way of getting the answer. So you have two options. The most difficult one there would be the otherwise part. But if you are aware that hence means you can use the solution, then it will be very straightforward. So we'll use the two values of x then to find the solution to this question. But the two questions are almost the same. I'm sure you can see that the only difference that there is a minus here in front of that square root of 8 minus x. Right? Which is not here. Okay. So if I want to get a solution there, I have to use the solution that I got in 1.22. When I say solutions, I'm referring to the 2x values. I need to check that will both of them be valid for this equation. If you don't want to follow that route, the otherwise part, you can solve it like how I did 1.22. Okay, be aware of that. The question can also be done like how I did 1.22. So you have to do all the working out like what I did, but it's 2 marks. Okay, which means you can get your full marks, but you provided more working out. Are you following me what I'm saying? So I'm going to use the 2x value. So all I have to do is substitute both of them and see which one, or if both of them will give us a solution. Right? So, so we have 1.2.3. So it's minus square root of 8 minus x equals to x minus 2. Let's start when x is 4. Okay, let's see what happens. So this becomes minus square root of 8 minus 4 is equal to 4 minus 2. And then you get minus square root of 4 equal to 2. This will give me minus 2 equal to 2, which doesn't work. Makes sense. And following that. So if you have that minus there, x equal to 4 will no longer be a solution. It's only a solution when the square root of 8 minus x is a problem. Then, when x is equal to minus 1, we get minus the square root of 8 minus 1 is equal to minus 1 minus 2. Then you get minus square root of 9, that will give you minus 3. This will give you minus 3 equal to minus 3. Therefore, x is going to be negative 1. So that's the solution. Are you following? Okay, so make sure you know your set. So I'll probably share with you. Since I brought all the numbers, I can share with you. I can set it there and I can.
You see, you're showing the numbers. I gave it to Celine already.
Okay. Or maybe she can just do it. Right. So let's get on now. Do you have any questions so far? Huh? No, it's not an exercise. This is a past examination paper. Yes, the past paper. I sent you the past paper. Really? Okay. Can I? Is there any questions? No. Are you okay? Alright. Okay, then inequality. You know, I'm going to be honest with you. I still don't understand why learners struggle to solve the inequality. This is called a quadratic inequality. Okay? So, I still don't understand why, but I'm just going to try and make it as simple as I can. The basic idea behind an inequality is that you don't have exact solutions. You've got a range of solutions. You understand what I mean? So you don't have one or two solutions, you've got many solutions that can satisfy the quadratic inequality. It's not very difficult. There are several methods that can be used to solve the inequality, but I prefer the number line method. There's also a table method. You can also use a method where you link your knowledge of quadratic formula, of the quadratic equation and the quadratic function, where you draw that curve, or in most cases you draw it with a minimum turning point. But I don't like that method because some learners end up not connecting properly the relationship between the quadratic function and the quadratic inequality and quadratic equation. You understand? So the number line method to me is the easiest. Okay? So when you've got that equation, first thing, if there is a constant to the right hand side of the inequality sign, take it to the left hand side. Okay? So the first step here for this question is written as x squared plus 2x is greater than or equal to 15. If you take the 15 to the left, you get x squared plus 2x minus 15 is greater than or equal to 0.
You get a mark for that.
You might get a mark because that's 4 marks. So there is a possibility that taking the 15 to the left, you might get a mark for them. So don't skip that step, so that you will be on the safe side with that 4 marks. Right? Then the next thing that you have to do is consider this quadratic inequality as a quadratic equation, so that you can determine what are called critical values. The critical values are also the solutions of a quadratic equation if you treat the quadratic inequality as a quadratic equation. I know that probably I said a lot, but what you do is consider that greater than or equal to as an equal sign, right? So let's determine the critical values. So normally I prefer to write CV, but I'll write before. So your critical values, you get them by factorizing that. Okay? So if you factorize it, you get x plus 5 times x minus 3 is, okay, well, in this case, since we just want to find the critical values, I can put an equal sign. But be aware that if you are not solving a quadratic equation, you are solving a quadratic inequality. You can to determine it's not the quadratic, it's a quadratic formula. You can use it to find the critical values. You understand that? So from here now, you equate each binomial to 0. So you get x equal to minus 5 or x equal to 3. Right. I also want you to be aware that for this question, you might get a mark here, right? The second mark can be allocated for the factors. There is no mark allocated for critical values. Okay? The mark for critical values is allocated when you provide the solution. It is incorporated into the solution. So we'll probably have 2 marks here. Or maybe 0. So the mark can be given here, or it could be given there, or both. Okay, so there are 3 cases. Either factors which are ticked for factors, or can be given for, or there are 1 for each separately. Yes. Yeah, in that case now, the way the method you use to determine the critical values, you get a mark for that method, which in this case it will be the what? The quadratic formula. So it's still fine to use the quadratic formula. Well, the key thing is, are you going to be able to get these critical values? That's the key thing. Which method you use, either use the factorization method to get there, or use the quadratic formula, is still fine. Right? Now that I've got my critical values, I need to have a method that I'll use to determine the solution. So in my case, I prefer the number line. So I'll draw my number line. Okay, I'll put 3 here, or rather, let me use a different color just to make it look nice. Green on this side. So this is minus 5, that will be 3. Now, do you agree with me? Now, when you're using the number line method, it's a trial and error method. You can't easily solve a quadratic inequality. It's more complex than a quadratic equation. So, do you agree with me that values to the right of 3, they are greater than or equal to 3? I'm putting equal here because of this sign here. Okay? Then, the value between 5 and 3, I can write that as minus 5 is less than or equal to x, x is less than or equal to 3. That's the second interval. So we have the first interval, which is on the right of 3, which is the upper limit of the interval. And then we have got the second interval, which is between minus 5 to 3, if I'm starting from my right. Then we have the third interval, which is to the left of the lower limit, which is minus 5. So that will be x is less than or equal to minus 5. So we have 3 intervals. Now, if you practice a lot, you are going to realize that there are 2 possibilities. The first one, the 2 at the ends can both be correct at the same time. If they are not correct, then the middle one will be the correct one only. Okay? So let's use trial and error so that you can understand what this is all about. It's not difficult at all. And to be honest with you, I still don't understand why most learners have got issues with it. Right? So let's choose a value which is greater than minus 3. Someone just choose any value greater than 3. 4. Now that 4, you have to use a trial and error method to get your solution. So you substitute the 4 here. So 4 plus 5 will give us what? 9. 4 minus 3 will give us, what is 9 times 1? 9. Is 9 greater than or equal to 0? So this is the solution.
So, because 3 is included in the formula, you do the full circle above 3, right?
What do you mean by that?
You draw the circle above the line, fill it in, and then you
Okay, we're talking about when you're drawing the number 9, then you draw your bar and so on. Yeah, in that case, you draw a circle when you shape. But you see, you're at grade level now, you won't get a question like that now. That used to happen in grade what? 10. So you never get a question saying, write your solution, or rather represent your solution on a number line. You never get a question in grade 11, no.
So we just round in that.
Yes, you just write this. But don't worry how much, if you get there, how you write the solution. Once this one here is correct, it automatically means that this will also be correct. Then this will be invalid. But I'll prove it to you. So let's move on to the second interval. Can someone else choose a value between minus 5 and 3? But don't choose the minus 5 and 3. I want other values between minus 5 and 3.
Negative 1.
Negative 1. Okay, let's put negative 1 here. Okay, but by the way, please don't worry when you see me substitute into the factors. You can also substitute there or there. You will still get the same what? The same result. You understand that? Okay? You can also substitute there and there and still get the same result. But in my case, I prefer to substitute into the factors. It makes things easy for me. So, minus 1. If you put minus 1 here, minus 1 plus 5 gives you what? What is minus 1 plus 5? You get a positive 4. What is minus 1 minus 3? Minus 4. 4 times minus 4 gives you what? Negative 16. Is negative 16 greater than or equal to 0? No. So this is not a solution. Okay? That's not a solution. Then let's move on to this one. Can someone choose the value is less than minus 5? Negative 9. Okay. So let's substitute negative 9 here. Put negative 9 plus 5, that will give you negative what? 4. Negative 9 minus 3, that will give you negative 12. Minus 4 times minus 12, that gives you 48. Is 48 greater than or equal to 0? So that's the solution. Then, when you write your answer now, you write it this way. You say, therefore, x is less than or equal to minus 5, or x is greater than or equal to positive 3. Okay? So, your mark allocation, obviously, this is going to be 1 mark, that will be 1 mark, the method 1 mark. It's most likely, okay, yeah, that the factors will be given what? A mark, which means those 4 marks, means there might not be a mark for this step. Yes?
So could you also write it as round bracket negative infinity minus 5 square bracket union square bracket
Yes.
3 and constant?
Yes. But be very careful with that, because if you make a silly mistake of using a singular bracket where you're supposed to put a square bracket, your answer becomes incorrect.
Square bracket is included.
Yes, it's included. So that method, be very careful whenever you're writing interval notation using the bracket. Because you can write your square bracket slightly as a circular bracket. The person who sees it as a circular bracket means a square bracket for you, then you may be penalized. Just make sure that your square bracket is clear. It's very, very clear.
It's very square.
Yes. Yeah. If it's really a square bracket, then you should start.
So you're gonna get a mark, it's taking the 2 pieces and side, and then you're gonna get a
Yeah,
mark.
okay. So in this case, you might not, a mark might not be allocated for that. Okay? But the mark is given for the factors. Okay? It's either it can be given here or it can be given there. But if I was the examiner for this paper, I would give it for the factors.
And then do the rest of the 3 marks for.
Then the other 3 is the method, and that's number 2. The method you used to get your what? Your solution. What method did you use? I use the number line what? Method. So there's a table method, there is a quadratic function method. Right? So 2 marks. Then each answer 1 mark. Are you following that? That's clear?
Yes.
Yeah, there's no way out. You have to know quadratic function. There's no way out. Even when you write metric, it's always there. Okay. Alright. Let's move on to this one, simultaneous. Now, the simultaneous equation, you're going to run away from it. It will always be there. Okay? It will always be there.
This question looks intimidating, but it's actually really easy.
Yeah. You see, with the simultaneous equation, every time you have to make sure that if the linear equation is not given, you create it. Like in this case, you have an exponential equation. This is an exponential equation. So I have to create a linear equation from that exponential before I start solving the for x and y. Okay, so my first step will say 2y is equal to 2 to the power of 5. Okay, times x, this becomes 2 to the power of 1 equal to 2 to the power of 5x. Since my bases are now the same, I can say therefore y is equal to 5x. So I can tell myself that this is the equation 1, and then I can call that one equation 2. Following that. Then I'll substitute where there is y in equation 2, I'll put 5x. So I can write here therefore 5x will be equal to x squared minus 2x minus 18. Okay? I'm solving now. I have to solve for x only first. Then from here, well, I don't encourage you to make x the subject here and then you end up having x equal to y over 5. Don't, I don't encourage you to work with fractions. Because fractions can cause some issues. Okay? So I have to create a quadratic way. So the first mark here, it will be allocated for that. It's 6 marks. It's possible that it might also be allocated. The first mark can be allocated, the second will be here. Okay? Then the third will be for substitution. Okay? I've done the substitution, so 3 so far. Then I need to create a quadratic equation, so that will be 0 equal to x squared minus 7x minus 18. So that's another mark, standard form. Okay? And that's a standard form. That's a mark. Right? Then I need to solve this. So this will be x minus 9 times x plus 2. Okay? So the factors. Okay? Factors, so we've got 5. Okay. What I would suggest, I think you want to give a mark here. So here, give the first one there. Second mark, third mark, fourth mark. The fifth mark will be for the 2x values, and the 6th mark will be for the 2y values. So let's not, the mark cannot be given. Right. Then when you get here, it means x will be equal to 9 or x equal to negative 2. So we've got a mark here for the x values. Then the y values, we need to use x values. So we say when x is equal to 9, y is equal to 5 times 9, which is 45. When x is equal to negative 2, y is equal to 5 times negative 2. That will be negative 10. Right. I just want to tell you something which I have seen some of them doing. It's not necessary here to write your answers as ordered text. Okay? There's no mark out of it. Okay? As long as you show, yes, as long as you show that your two y values are 45 and minus 10, you deserve a mark for that. And then here, your two x values are 9 and x is minus 2, you get your 2 marks for your x value. Okay? If you decide to write after that is ordered pairs, there is no benefit for that. If you already got your 2x values correct, your 2y values correct, there is no benefit for writing your final answer as ordered pairs. Right? Now, sometimes, let's say you made a mistake here. Okay, well, where can I say you made a mistake? Okay, let's say this is right, that's also right. Somehow, when you are simplifying it, you make a mistake. And then you can't find the factors. Then you use the quadratic what? Formula. In that case, you get CA marks for the x values, but you lose the mark for whatever mistake you made. You end up getting 5 out of 6. Okay. But if you make a second mistake, no more CA mark. Okay. So if you make one silly mistake when you are solving a simultaneous equation, you are guaranteed of getting 5 out of 6 in this case. Right? But don't make a second mistake. If you make a second mistake, then no more CA mark. Right? Okay, let me carry on. Any questions so far? Actually, nature of roots. Now, your nature of roots is a very important part of quadratic equations. Right? Nature of roots is a very important part of quadratic equations. Okay? So, first thing, you need to know that you are going to get a question on nature of roots. It's going to be there. You're going to run away from that. Since you are in grade 11, there has to be a question on nature of roots. Now, by nature of roots, what do you mean? You see, the roots of a quadratic equation, they are also called the solutions. Okay? They are also called the zeros. When you're dealing with a quadratic function, we call them the x-intercepts. So there is a very strong relationship between quadratic equation, quadratic function. There is a relationship. That's why you did quadratic equation with term 1, then term 2, or term 3, whether you did function. There is a relationship between the two topics. Especially when it comes to the quadratic equation, quadratic function, there is a relationship. So when we say the roots, the nature of roots, we are saying what type of root are you going to get? Is it going to be one root 2 times? Okay? Well, that's another possibility. Are you going to get 2 roots that are different? Or are the roots going to be non-real roots? Okay? Now, for you to be able to determine the nature of roots, we use the discriminant. Now, the discriminant, okay, to write your quadratic equation, okay, with some quadratic formula, x equal to minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a, right? The expression inside the square root, this expression here, b squared minus 4ac, is called the discriminant. And that's the expression which is used to determine the nature of the roots of that quadratic equation. Okay? So b squared minus 4ac can be equal to 0. In that case, you get 2 roots that are the same, 2 roots that are identical. Okay, this is quite interesting. If I give you, if you have got 0 inside there, the square root of 0 gives you what? A 0. So you'll be left with x equal to minus b divided by 2a. So you end up having one solution. Twice. Okay? When the discriminant is 0. Then, when the discriminant is greater than 0, you get 2 roots that are different, or that are unique, or different. Okay? Then you can get also a case where the discriminant is less than 0. In that case, you get non-real root. Now, your calculator does not accommodate the non-real root scenario. That's for high level mathematics. That's mathematics that you get to what are called complex numbers. Okay? Right? So when you get a question like this, your heartbeat should not increase because you saw a question talking about the solution of quadratic equation. No, it's very easy. Use the what? The discriminant. You following me? Use your discriminant. So if you are given this, this comes, okay, that equation comes from the quadratic formula. It's actually the quadratic formula. After substituting the A, the B, the C, you come out with that. But you should know that, okay, what's inside the square root is my discriminant. What do I know about the discriminant? Right? So the first question here says determine the value of P so that the equation is equal to. Now, for it to be an equal root, it means the discriminant must be equal to 0. So all you have to do is extract the discriminant, 7 plus 3p, you equate that to 0. You end up getting a grade 8 benchmark. Then this is the same as 3p equals minus 7, so p is going to be minus 7 over 8. And then we're done. It's so easy. So easy. I can tell you, some learners will skip this question, but it's so easy. And then one learner will get it and then they'll seem like they're very smart when they are not. Because this is very easy. It's very, very easy. Yes. There is no smartness involved. Okay? Right? So that's this question. Then the second one, 1.5.2, the equation has non-real roots. Now for you to have non-real roots, means the discriminant must be less than 0. So you extract your discriminant, sorry, the discriminant is 7 plus 3p is less than 0 if the roots are non-real. Then you solve this. So you get 3p is less than minus 7, divide both sides by 3, you get p is less than minus 7 over 8. And then you're done. Now, since you're at grade level, you don't have to represent that for a number, right? Okay. Alright? The number line stopped in grade 10. Okay. Stopped in grade 10. So that's your nature of roots. Now, be aware that the concept of nature of roots is good applications. Okay, it's a good application. The application will come under level 4 questions. That's part of quadratic equation. It can also be part of the quadratic pattern. I hope at this stage you know that there's a relationship between quadratic equation, quadratic pattern, quadratic function. There's a relationship. Okay? There's a relationship. Alright. So let me just go over the next questions. Right? Let me do this too, then we'll take it back. Let me do this too, we'll take a short break. Right. So now we are moving. Is there anybody else with any question with that equation? Because I've covered all the key things that you are expected to know. Okay? I've covered all of it. And then your sets and exponents. That's a very important topic. Right? So 2.1.1 given square root 98 plus the square root of 8 all over square root of 50. Right? It looks scary, but it's not. You must ask yourself, if the question says simplify without the use of a calculator, why? Because the question can be done without using a calculator. You don't have to use a calculator. Right? The basic idea here is rationalize. By rationalize means remove the square root. Remove the square root. When you see the word rationalize means remove the square root. When the square root is there, the number is irrational. When the square root is no longer there, the number becomes what? A rational number. So we just have to simplify that until we get a rational number. So to do that, we first have to eliminate the square root in the denominator. So we multiply the numerator by the square root of 50, the denominator by itself. That will be the first step. Okay? So if you do that, allow me to take that square root of 50 to the left hand side and introduce brackets. So So this becomes square root of 98 plus square root of 8 in brackets. Now, square root of 50 times square root of 50 gives me 50. So I rationalized the denominator. Okay, but then issue what I did, how I already square root of 50 is because of multiplication, okay? By multiplying this binomial here by square root of 50, well, if you want me to make things maybe simpler, maybe I can put a bracket here, just to avoid issues. Okay, so I can take this square root of 50 to the left-hand side of the bracket. I can also leave it on the right-hand side. Okay, either way is the same because of multiplication. Then the next thing now, we need to simplify all those irrational numbers. The best way of doing that is write them as products of a perfect square and a prime number. Your perfect squares, start with 4, that's the main and the smallest. Look at 9, 16, 25, 36, 39, 64, 81, 100, 121, 144, 169, and you on. Those are your perfect squares. Then your prime numbers, 2, that's the smallest, then 3, then 5, and so on. So how can you write square root of 50 as a product, a perfect square, and a prime number? So that will be square root 25 times 2. Okay, I think, let me do this on the next page. So it will be clear out. Okay? This is the next page. So this will be equal to the square root 25 times 2 multiplied by. Now, square root of 98 can also be written as a product, the perfect square in the prime number. So that will be 49 times 2 plus. Now the 8 is very easy. That will be the square root of 4 times 2. This is all over 50. See that I'm not using a calculator. And remember, for me to get the 4 marks, you have to show all your working out. No calculator. Okay? So, square root of 25 gives you 5, that becomes 5 square root of 2. 49 plus 7 square root of 2 plus 2 square root of 2. Right? This is all over 50. Okay? Now, I'm sure you can see that the two terms that are inside the brackets, they are like terms. Okay? So 7 plus 2, that gives you 9 square root of 2. So you get 5 square root of 2 and 9 square root of 2. I hope the following one I'm getting that. And this is all over 50. Okay, okay. Then 5 times 9, that will give you 45. Square root of 2 times square root of 2, that's 2 over 50. To simplify this, you get 90 over 50. Your final answer in simplest terms will be 9. No calculator. So once you do your working out like the way that I did it, you deserve your full 4 marks. Okay? You can come out of that paper with confidence, knowing that yes, I got that right.
So, is it okay if I got the same answer, but instead of multiplying by the root of 50, instead of doing that, I said 2 times 25 in the bottom, and then I just work my way down and eliminate it.
That's fine. If you decide that you want to rationalize the denominator first, that's fine. Okay, that's fine. Okay. As long as you didn't use the calculator, that's okay. Yeah. Right. You see, the beauty about math is that if you come out of the paper, you have an idea what happened. I don't know, in my case, that's what used to happen. When I had a discussion with my friends after the next paper, I will know that, okay, that person traveled me, the others got them right, this person traveled me, and so on. And you can have an idea what mark you got. So on the 19th of November, as soon as you come out of that 2.5 paper, you have an idea of how much you got. Okay? If you know your stuff, you know that you got more. If you didn't know your stuff, you know that you got less. But you have to know your stuff. Don't take a risk to come to a math paper without being well prepared. Okay? There will be a big sign there, danger, if you are not well prepared. I'm being honest. Yeah.
So we said 32, right?
Yeah.
Please,
But you know what? Honestly speaking, right, so I've done 2.1.1, now 2.1.2. Now, the moment you see an exponential expression, okay, an exponential expression has no equal sign, okay? So this is an exponential expression. If there is a minus or a plus between exponential terms, it means that isolate a common factor, okay? Isolate a common factor. If you are to do this question here, you have to create a common factor. So, first break up the first term with 5 to the power of x times 5 to the power of 3 minus 3 times 5 to the power of x times 5 squared. This is all over 5 to the power of x times 5 to the power of 1. Okay? And following that. Then the next thing now, identify a common factor in the numerator. Okay? The best common factor there will be 5 to the power of x. Right? So we take out this, we've left with what? 5 cubed. And here, we've left with 3 times 5 squared. So that will be 3 times 5 squared. This is all over 5 to the power of x and 5 to the power of 1.
So, I don't keep on the common factor of the trinomial.
It's not necessary because there's one term of the denominator. Remember, you only find a common factor if you've got a binomial or you've got a what? Trinomial. But generally, when you've got a binomial, that's if you have to find a common factor. So in the denominator, we have one term. So we don't need to find a common factor. The common factor that will determine the numerator. So this 5 to the power of x and that 5 to the power of x, they cancel out. Right? Then, from here now, 5 cubed will give you 125 minus 5 squared is 25 times 3, that's 75. All over 5. So you get 50 over 5, and you get 10 in the final one. Alright.
here we are.
Okay, so now we've got more exponential equations. Okay, getting a little bit hard. Can I say, okay, these two questions, they look like they are very challenging, but they are not that challenging. So the first one, it has got a square root. Now I want you to be aware that the first question can be done in many ways. Okay, you can square both sides to remove the square root sign. Okay, which I think will be the best method. So you have square root of x minus 3 raised to the power of minus 3 is equal to 27. So I suggest that you square both sides. Okay, this will be the easiest method in my opinion. You will get 27 squared. So you end up getting x minus 3 raised to the power of minus 3. That's equal to 27 squared. Then, the next thing which I would suggest you can do here, right? Either you can convert the 27 to the base of 3, okay, from this step, or you can convert the exponent with minus 3 to a product. Right? You can even work with it as it is. But I was just thinking, let me just convert this minus 3 to an exponent which is equal to 1. So I have to multiply this negative 3 by its reciprocal. And that reciprocal is negative a third. Okay? Remember, minus 3 times minus a third. This will give you what? 1. So I'm going to do that. But that's not the only way. Be aware. That's not the only way. The question can be done in more than one way. right? So this is going to become x minus 3 raised to the power of minus 3 times minus a third. Now, if I multiply the exponent on the left by minus a third, I also have to do it on the right hand side. Remember, it's an equation. So whatever I do on the left, you do it on the what? On the right hand side. Now, this is going to become, okay, for now, allow me to convert this 27 to 3 cubed. Okay, 3 cubed times 2 gives you 3 to the power of 6. So this will be 3 to the power of 6. Okay, then I'll multiply it by negative a third. If you've got a question there, you can ask me. No, it's not the one. Okay, so we end up having x minus 3. Then on the right, 6 times minus a third. That will give you 3 to the power of negative. You see that? Right? I'm not using a calculator. Remember, the question says do not use the what? Calculator. Then you end up getting x equal to 3 plus 3 to the power of negative 2. So this is 3 plus 1 over 9. Final answer of the 3 and 1 over 9, 2 to 7 is 20 over 9. Okay? So you can do it. You can do the question in any order as long as it's mathematically correct.
Instead of going out, instead of asking how the power of the and work like that. And then I'll multiply it by negative 2 or 3 on both sides.
Fine. There is no problem. Okay. But the most important thing is whichever method, even the one method that you are talking about, and the one that I just showed you, are not the only way. This question can be done in more than 2 ways. You could also, you see when you get to this step here, you could also convert that exponent of the negative what? Positive. So it becomes 1 over x minus 3 the power. Then you can simplify from it. So it could be done in many ways. But in the end, you should get to x equal to 3 and 1 over 9, which is the same as 28. Alright? Okay then. Right. Then the next question, it's an exponential equation again. Now this one, 2.2.2, so you have 4 to the power of x minus 3 times 2 to the power of x equal to 14. Okay? Whenever you get a question like this, first thing that you must do, take the constant to the left. So you get 4 to the power of x minus 3 times 2 to the power minus 14. This is the power. Then you must ask yourself, is it possible to write this first term as a square of that term? That 2 to the power. The answer is a yes. So you can write it as 2 to the power of 2 over to the power of x minus 3 times 2x minus 4 to the power of 0. Then we can swap the 2 and the x there. So it becomes 2 to the power of x squared minus 3 times 2 to the power of x minus 4 to the power of 0. Okay? Then now we bring in the k method. K method. So, let A equal to 2 to the power of x. Okay? If we put that, the equation becomes k squared minus 3k minus 40 equal to 0. And this will be k minus 8 times k plus 5 equal to 0. Following that. You have to know what I just did there. You have to know what I just did. Right? The use of the K method. We use the K method because it's easier to factorize the expression when it's a straightforward trinomial like that in terms of k, right? Then prove that k will be 8 or k will be negative 5. So what this means is 2 to the power of x is going to be 8 or 2 to the power of x is going to be negative 5. Now this one here, x is undefined. Okay? Therefore, 2 to the power of x will be equal to 2 to the power of 3, hence x will be equal to 3. So you have to show that 2 to the power of x is equal to negative 5. And you state that it's undefined. You can't solve for x. Okay? You can't solve for x. You can't convert minus 5 to the base of 2. You can't. It's not possible. Alright? Are you following that? Okay? So be ready for an exponential equation like this. Be ready for that. And then the next question, it's a higher order question. It's a word problem, but it looks like it's very scary, but it's a very easy question. So the question says during the 2019 Cricket World Cup, the South African captain Faf du Plessis hit a ball on his mind. You know, all this story is not necessary. After the ball left his head, the height of the ball in meters was expressed by the equation h of x equal to minus x squared plus 4x after x seconds. Calculate the maximum height of the ball.
So are they basically just asking you for the y?
Yes, yes. The y value is the turning point. So the stories here are not necessary. H of x equal to minus x squared plus 4x. What type of a function is that? It's quadratic, right? And I'm sure you know that if there's a minus here, it means that quadratic function is going to have a maximum turning point. So we need to know what is the value of y at the turning point. Now, to get the y value at the turning point, there are two methods at this stage in grade level. Either you find the x value first, using x equal to minus b over 2a, then you substitute the x value into the expression. That's the easiest method. The second method, you have to complete the square. Okay? So I'll show you both of them. Right? So method 1, for this question, it would be to say x is equal to minus b over 2a. The question relates your knowledge of the quadratic function and quadratic equation. Right? So this will be equal to our b here is 4, so this will be minus 4 over 2 times a is minus 1, so you get 4 over 2. So the minus 4 or minus 2 is here 2. Right? So we have got an x value at the turning point. Okay? Then we substitute that x value now into that expression. So h2 will be equal to minus 2 squared plus 4 times 2. So this will give you minus 4 plus 8. You will get positive 4. Therefore, the maximum height is 4 meters. Okay? So this is one method. Next year you are going to learn a third method using calculus. Okay, there's a third method of doing this. But that's okay, so next year you learn a third method to do the question. Now let's talk about the second method. Are you following? If you get any question talking about maximum, you understand? Get any question under functions talking about maximum. This is the method that you can use. Any question which is talking about a maximum, use this method. This is the easiest method. Right? Then the second method, it will be to complete the square. So let's complete the square. Okay? Let's complete the square. I can tell that a question like this in an examination Lots of learners won't answer. Because the perception will be it's very difficult. Yet it's not. Alright, so we have h of x to power 2 minus x squared plus 4x. So this is method 2. Okay, now to complete the square, first thing, the coefficient of x squared must be a positive. So my equation becomes h of x power minus x squared minus 4x. Alright? Okay, that's the first thing that you have to do. Okay? Then you now need to create a trinomial, which is called the perfect square trinomial. To create that perfect square trinomial, we need to find the half of the coefficient of x. So minus 4 divided by 2 will give you negative 2. So that will become h of x equals minus x squared minus 4x. Then you add half of the coefficient of x. Then you subtract it. Okay? Well, let me put a square bracket there. Put a square bracket. And just to ask you, what answer do you get if you simplify this part?
Plus 4 minus 0.
Get 0. Okay, so it's just a manipulation without like. The objective is to create the perfect square triangle. So this becomes minus x squared minus 4x minus 4 minus 4. Okay? Then our perfect square trinomial, we will get it there. That's where the perfect square trinomial is. So that equation becomes minus x minus 2 squared, right? Minus 4. Now check this. The 2 that I got when I did the first method, see the 2 that I got, this 2 here, it appears here. Okay? Then I need to remove the square bracket. So if I remove the square bracket, I'll get minus x minus 2 squared. This minus and that minus give us a positive 4. So we end up having that. And this is called the turning point form. You remember when you did the quadratic function? And this value is the p value, this one is the q value. The q value gives you the maximum value or the minimum value at the turning point of the quadratic function. Therefore, we can say, therefore, the maximum value, or the maximum height, is what? 4 meters. So this value here is 1 inch bigger than maximum. It has to be a positive. It's height. Height is never negative. Following that. So I've shown you 2 methods. If you see the question in the paper, either under number pattern or you see it under the quadratic function, the question is talking about maximum, don't get scared. This is how you do it. It's not difficult. Okay, next year you learn a third method, which will also help you to do the same question. Alright. Any questions before I cover? Right, so let's move on to number patterns now. Right, in your number patterns, obviously you need to know your linear, you need to know your quadratic patterns. There's no way out. You need to know both linear and the quadratic. So the first question says consider the following pattern. Well, first thing, if you see a pattern, try to determine the first difference. So the first difference, there is a 5, there is a 5, okay, so I have a 4 here, 9, and I have a 14. If I find my common difference, there is a 5. Which means that's a linear what? Linear pattern. So we need to write down the next 2 terms. So our next 2 terms are going to be 19 and then 24. So that's straightforward. Okay? Okay, then determine the expression for the nth term of the pattern. Well, let me make this one open one. Right? So to get the end term, I'll use the expression Tn equals An plus C. I don't know how you were taught this, but either you can put Q where there is C there, it's fine. You can even put B where there is N. But the most important thing is know what the coefficient of N is. It's the common difference. This N, sorry, this A here, that's called the common difference. Whatever letter will be there, it's a common difference. Okay? Then, the next thing, I need to choose a term here. I will choose 14. Okay? So where there is Tn, I'll put 14. Where there is A, I'll put 5. You follow what I'm doing? Where there is N there, that's the position now of 14 in the pattern. So that's a 3. I want to calculate C. So this means 14 is equal to 15 plus C. Therefore, C is going to be negative 1. So the general term is going to be Tn equal to 5n minus 1. Okay, so that's my general term. The following. Next year, you're going to learn a new formula that you can use. That formula is not required to use it in grade 10 and 11, but you learn it in matric and you can start using it. It's much better than this formula here. It's much better than this next year. It's way better than using that formula. Okay? You're following that? Then the next question now says, determine if 1099 is a term of the number pattern. Well, that question can be done in more than one way, but the way that I'm going to do it is, I'm going to substitute 1099 where there's Tn, then I'll solve for n. My n must be a positive integer. If 1099 is part of that linear pattern, the n must be a what? An integer. If n is not an integer, it means 1099 is not part of the linear pattern. Or is not a term in the linear pattern. Okay? So let me do that next page. So we have 4.1.3. So we have Tn equal to 5n minus 1. So I'll put 1099 there equal to 5n minus 1. Right? If I take the minus 1 to the left, I get 1100. Okay, already I can see that indeed it is part of the term, so we get 2, and remember 1, and 2 and 0. Right? Therefore, 1099 is a term. Is a term in the pattern. In the number pattern. Then I can state the reason because n is an element of integers. Well, I suspect so because of the nature of the question, 3 marks, so there could be a mark allocated for the conclusion. And the reason why you assume that it's indeed part of the number pattern. So to be on the safe side, to get your full 3 marks, you should have that conclusion. In any case, you should know that n must be positive. N must be what? Positive. Okay. Any question? Then the next question, that's a quadratic part. Like so 4.2.1. Right, so I'll rewrite my terms. Okay, so for me to be able to determine the next 2 terms, I don't want to guess it. Okay, so I'll find my first difference. So that's 4, that's 8. Then I need to find my second difference. That's 4. Okay, then I'll use my knowledge. I just hope that you know that 6 plus 4 will give us this 10. 10 plus that 8 will give us that 18, right? Then in there I've got a 4. Okay? Then also 6, I'm showing, okay, I hope you are aware of this. That 8 minus 4 gives me 4. Means for me to get this 4, I must get the what? 12. You follow me? I'm not guessing. Then is 2. 18 plus 12. That will give me 30. Okay? You follow me there? Then we have another 4 here. 12 plus 4, that should give us 16 there. Right? So 30 plus 16 will give us 46. What you can see that I'm not guessing the answers. Right? I'm not guessing the answers. So we have got these two as our answers. Okay. It is straightforward. So you should know, because this is a very common question where they ask you to state maybe 1 or 2 terms of that quadratic pattern. Those are easy marks that you should get. Right? Then the next question says, determine the equation of the general term. Now that's a very common question. You cannot come on the 19th when you don't know how to do 4.22. You can't do that. Okay? Wake up early in the morning, you bath, you get ready, maybe your parents give you leave to school, you come home, you walk into the school gate, and you can't determine the general term of it. No. That's a big no. Okay. So 4.22 is determine the general term. So first thing, 4.22, 2a is going to be equal to the second difference. So a is going to be 2. Then 3a plus b is going to be equal to the first term of the first difference, which is 4. Okay? So this is the 4. Do you also know that you can also determine the value of b by using 5a plus b is equal to the second term of the first difference? Do you also know you can find b by using 7a plus b is equal to the third term of the first difference? I know that the most common method is to use the first term of the first differences, but that's not the only way. Okay, but maybe I'll just show you that you can also use 7a plus b is equal to the third term of the first difference. I'll show you right, that you can see it. Okay, so I'm using 3a plus b is equal to the first term of the first differences. So b is going to be 4 minus 3 times 2. So this will be 4 minus 6, and you get minus 2. Right? We found b using the first term of the first differences. If I want to use the third term of the first differences, it's going to be 7a plus b. For our question, this is so interesting. It's equal to 12. Right? Then b is going to be 12 minus, okay, 12 minus 7 times 2. Right? Now, let's do 12 minus what? 14. We're going to get negative 2. So check this. Same answer. Now, you can also go further. You can also have 9a plus b is equal to the fourth term of the first difference. But what I'm telling you now, not many teachers mentioned. The most common method is to say that 3a plus b is equal to the first term of the first differences. Okay? Teachers teach that way to make things easier for you. Okay? But if you heard what I said, if you use 9a plus b is equal to 16, you still get the same value of b. If you use 5a plus b is equal to 8, you still get the same value of b. Okay? I hope you learned something new today. Right? You can even challenge your teacher if you want to. Alright, let's get, yeah. Alright. Yes. Okay, let's carry on. So we found b. Then c with the t1 is equal to a plus b plus c. T1 means the first term of the original quadratic pattern. And that first term is a 6. Okay, so this will be 6 is equal to A, which is 2. A is positive 2. So that will be 2, B is negative 2, right? So C is going to be positive 6. Therefore, our general term is going to be Tn is equal to 2n squared minus 2n plus 6. Right? You get that? Okay. So we have to know how to determine the general term of quadratic pattern, how to find the general term of the linear pattern. Okay? Alright. Then the next question now says calculate the value of T12. Okay? So 4.2.3, we now know that our general term is Tn equal to 2n squared minus 2n plus 6. So T12 means put 12 where there is n. So that is 2 times 12 squared minus 2 times 12 plus 6. So this gives you 288 minus 24 plus 6. Minus 24 plus 6 gives us 18. So 288 plus 18, that will give us 306. And just check that for me. Can you check that for me? Yeah, make a mistake. It's not 306. That is 264. If I subtract 24 from that, I get 54. No, not 54. I get 64 plus 6. I get 270. Usually I added, so it should be 270. Is that right?
Yes.
Right. Then the next question now says, what term of the pattern has the value of 766? Now, this is more like just solving a quadratic equation. That's why you have to know how to solve quadratic equations because that technique is tested throughout. If you know how to solve quadratic equation, you are going to get lots of marks in the paper. Right? So, for this one now, we write our general term. Tn equal to 2n squared minus 2n plus 6. So where there's Tn, we put 766 there. Right? So 766 is equal to 2n squared minus 2n plus 6. By the way, you get a mark for substituting that 766. Then we take the 766 to the right, we get 2n squared minus 2n. Then this becomes minus 760. There's a common factor here which is a 2. So I can have n squared. Before I do that, let me take out the common factor. Minus 380. Right? So it means 0 is equal to n squared minus n minus 380. Okay, so you can use the quadratic formula then. If you can't factorize, you can use the quadratic formula. Right? You can't factorize, I suggest you use the quadratic formula. You won't go at all. Because finding the factors can be a nightmare. Right. So which two factors of 380, if you add them, they'll give you minus 1. Huh? Yeah. So it's going to be 0 equal to n minus 20 times n plus 90. Right? Therefore, n will be equal to 20 or n will be equal to minus 90. You will reject that. Therefore, n will be 20. So, the 20th term is going to be equal to 766. So, here I can say T20 equal to 766. Are you following that? Right. It's clear everywhere. I'm here. Okay. Right. And then this one now, 4.3. In most cases, you get a higher order question in number patterns. So be also be ready for that. Especially if you want to get a very high mark in the paper. Right? So this question now, we are told that we are not told that it's a quadratic or it's linear. It's one of the two. Okay? We are not told what pattern it is. Right? So don't make an assumption that it is quadratic or it's linear. We don't know. But the question says T1 is equal to K, T2 is equal to 14, T4 is equal to 71. Right? T3 minus T2 is equal to 10. So we need to determine the value of K. Okay? Now, we don't know whether it's linear or quadratic. But based on the information that's there, so our first term is K, T2 is 14, we don't know T3, right? So T3 I can call it X, T4 is equal to 71, K. So that's what we got, right? If it's linear, it means the first differences will be constant, but we don't know. Okay? So if I got D1 here, let's say D2, if I would calculate that, it will be 14 minus K. That one will be X minus 14. And this one will be 71 minus X.
So but can't you work out 23?
Yeah, that's what I'm going to try and do. That's what I'm going to try and do. Right? Then I got two unknowns here. I create two unknowns. So this will be X minus 14 minus 14 minus K. Okay? I could also add here 7 C1 minus X. Okay? This will be minus X minus 14. Right. But the good thing is, what is T1? T1 is equal to what? It's equal to K. Which means where I put T1 there, I can put what? I can put K there. Where there's T1, I can put K. So it means that, okay, be aware of this, that your T1 is equal to K. So T4 is going to be equal to 7K. Okay? So T4 is going to be 7K. Now, if I substitute T1 there, I'll get, I'm going to end up, okay, be aware that this becomes 7K minus X. And this one is X minus 14 minus 1. Now, if you simplify this, you end up getting X minus 28 minus what? Minus, so it would be plus K. If you simplify that after putting 7K, it will be 7 times 2, that's 7K minus, 7K minus 2X plus 14. Now, the issue is, we don't know whether this pattern is it linear or is it what? Quadratic. So what do you do? Huh? What do you think? Okay, I also hope that you are aware that from this equation here, you can say T3 is equal to 10 minus 10 plus T2, which is the same as 10 plus 14. So where there is X there, I can put 10 plus what? 10 plus 14, which gives me what? 24. Are you following? So you have to think, because it's a high order question. So X is gonna be 24. Are you following what I just did? Right. So what I'm gonna do is, on the next page, I'm going to redo that. Okay? I'm gonna redo that. So where there is X, I'll put what? 24. Right? So I'm going to have my K at 14 and 24 and 7K. Right? So if I found my D1, so that will be 14 minus K, and that will be 24. Sorry, that will be 14 now. So 10. So 24 minus that will be 10. Now I have 7K minus 24. Okay? If I follow that, then my D2 is going to be 10 minus that. Now, let me write it as 10 minus 14 minus K, and then that will be 7K minus 24 minus 10, which I can simplify. Okay, so this is the same as K plus, so it will be K minus 4. Right? And this one here becomes 7K minus 4. Right? So it's most likely to be quadratic. In most cases, a question of this type, it's highly likely that it can be linear. Therefore, I can just equate the second difference. So K minus 4 will be equal to 7K minus 34. So this will give me, I can put 30 here, 7K minus that, I get 6K. Therefore, K will be. Okay, the question requires some thinking. Honestly speaking, you have to think. Okay, yes. Okay, this might not be, well, this is going to be unnecessary. For me, it was part of my strategy to get to the answer. Okay? If you manage to figure it out without writing it, okay, that's fine. You can manage to come up with this straight away, then it's fine. Okay? Remember, the question requires you to think. Okay, the question requires you to think. It's thinking and application. Okay. Any question there? Let's move on to the type of work. I'll try to finish this question. Okay. I won't be able to do what. Okay, so let's get on here. So we're given the equation of the hyperbola. Alright? And you can read all the story. So the first question is write down the equation of the asymptotes of F. Now this is a very common question. So the equations for the horizontal will be x equal to 2. So for the vertical. For the horizontal it will be y equal to 1. So this is very easy and straightforward. Then determine the equation of F. Right? To find the equation of F, which is 5.1.2, so I have got f of x equal to, now I'm going to substitute my values, so that becomes x minus 2 plus 1. Okay? All I need is to determine the value of k. To find the value of k, I have to use the point which is on the graph, and that point is point B. So y is negative 2, and then x is 0 plus 1. So that will give me minus 2 equal to k divided by minus 2 plus 1. Then you need to know that the LCD here is going to be negative 2. Or we can just take the 1 to the left, and we get minus 3 equal to k divided by minus 2. So k is going to be 6. Right? After finding that k, then we can write our equation. So okay, let me squeeze it here. Therefore, our equation f of x will be equal to 6 divided by x minus 2 plus 1. So that is it. Well, how many months is 3 months? So the first month would be substituting the points, that is the x and the y value. Add the mark for the equation. You also get a mark for the value of k. Because we have to find the value of k there. Right? We're following the straightforward, isn't it? Right? Then the next question says write down the domain of f. Right? Remember, what is domain? It's the set of all the x values. So x will never be the value of x in the vertical asymptote. So 5.1.3 is going to be x is an element of real numbers, but x is not equal to 2. That's the best way of writing your domain. That's the best way. Okay? Then 5.1.4, calculate the coordinate of D. Right. So D is somewhere there. Right. It's on the x-axis. So that's an x-intercept. So we've got f of x equal to 6 divided by x minus 2 plus 1. So f0, right? So that will be 6 divided by 0 minus 2 plus 1. F0 equal to 6 over minus 2. Right? Alright? Okay. Then the different question. Then 5.1.5 says calculate the equation of the function. Right? H of x equal which goes through the point B, passes through the point B, point C, and point D. And so pass through, we don't know whether it's a minimum or turning point, where C and D are the x-intercepts. So C and D are the x-intercepts of that function. Right? We know, like, this is interesting. Right? If it passes through point B is going to be an extra point on the graph. Right? Our x-intercepts are C and D, which means I can use the x-intercept form, which will be f of x. Okay, let me write it as h of x. So it will be h of x. Okay. H of x is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c. Since I have my x-intercept, right? Let me just write down my coordinates first. My coordinates for D are x is minus 4, y is 0. I need those for the x. Then the coordinates of C, right? X is going to be 2, y is going to be 0. So I have to write this in x-intercept form. So it will be a times x minus x1 and x minus x2. Okay? Then where there is h of x, I'll put the value of y at b, which is negative 2. The value of x there is 0. So I want to calculate a first. So I'll put 0 where there is x there. Right? But where there is x1, I can put minus 4, I can put 2 first. Either of the two. I prefer to put the smallest of the two, which will be negative 4. Then where there is x, you put 0. Where there is x2, you put 2. Are you following that? Huh? Please, I hope you are aware that the quadratic function has got 3 equations. We have the standard form, right? This is called the x-intercept form. We also have the turning point form, where you have to complete the square equation. So then this becomes minus 2 equal to a times 4 times minus 2. So you get minus 2 equals a times minus 8 is the same as minus 8a equals minus 2. So a is going to be 4 times. Right? They say determine the equation. So now I need to substitute that a here. I can put it here. Then where there is x1, I'll put back my minus 4. Where there is x2, I'll put the 2. Where there is x and x, I won't put any value. Where there is h of x, I won't put any value. So here I can say therefore h of x will be equal to a quarter times x minus 4 times x minus 2. Okay? So this gives me h of x equal to a quarter times x plus 4 times x minus 2. And then you get h of x equal to a quarter times x squared minus 2x plus 4x minus 8. And then we end up getting a quarter times x squared plus 2x minus 8. So the final equation, allow me to write it using a different color. Okay. So the final equation will be h of x will be equal to a quarter x squared plus half x minus 2. Okay. So that will be the equation. Okay. What that means, what does that mean with regard to point B? What will be the name given the point B for that quantity? Huh? Do you see that there is a minus 2 here? Do you see that there is a minus 2 here? So look at the what? No? No. Okay, for any quadratic function, what is this for? The y-intercept. So point B will be the y-intercept of the curve. But that's kind of weird. I think probably you can just say the graph is not drawn to what? To scale. Yeah, okay, so this is 5 marks. So starting from here, going all the way, you deserve 5 marks. Okay.